Hey guys, today we're going to make a Chicago health map using the community shapefile that we get from the data portal that's found at data.cityofchicago.org, and also a data set that describes different characteristics of those community areas in their, in this case, public health statistics. You can find that searching for that in the data portal. We also have a few other data sets that pull from there, which is a shapefile of the waterways that describes the water features, basically rivers, shoreline of the city, as well as building footprints, parks, and again, the boundary areas of that Chicago describes as its communities. To get started, we want to pull in the boundaries, community areas, and we'll see that it has plotted correctly. And I also want to bring in the public health statistics for the city. Now, if we look at the, before we join these two tables, we want to make sure that we have matching columns to correctly graph these two data sets onto one another. And there's a way to change columns in such a way to better facilitate how they might graft onto one another in a join. If I look at let me step back real quick. If you right click on your boundaries community areas, you'll see that there's an area that says Open Attributes Table. This allows you to take a peek into what actually is in the data from a column standpoint. When I click that, and you'll see that we have area numbers, common area, shape area, perimeter, community, and so on. And we'll see that area number might be a very good thing we might use to graft another data set onto this one. Because it does appear that area number 1 is Roger Park. So let's go take a look at the other data set. If we again right click on the public health statistics, we'll open the attribute table, and again we'll find that there's a thing that says community area name. 1 is Rogers Park, so I can assume that these will correspond to the names and the different features that we might be interested in visualizing. So, one pro tip here, it is generally a good idea to use a numerical ID number versus a string or a name, such as Rogers Park, because in this case, and in many data sets, you will see that there might be spelling errors, there might be capitalization errors. If anything's different, things will not match one another, and then therefore you will have data loss or an error. So I really want to match this column with the corresponding column in the boundaries shapefile. So if I right click onto, or if I double click on boundaries, I'm going to pull it up. I want to check one thing. Sometimes when we're dealing with QGIS, when files get imported into QGIS, it has a tendency to turn numbers into strings on import, and we want to have numbers always be thought of as numbers, and we'll see that this is indeed the case. Area number, we know those are numbers. It's not a word or a name. So what I want to do is turn this into a number. If you think about Excel, and you're changing how columns are categorized, this is pretty easy to do. It's not too hard here, but it just takes a little more work. So the first thing I'm going to do is if you see this little icon right here, it's called a field calculator, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on that, and you've got this pop-up window right here. This allows you to do a bunch of operations onto your data sets. One of the reasons why it's difficult is QGIS is a tool for many different purposes. And it gives you that flexibility, but the trade-off is, again, some things are a little bit harder, but if you know what you're doing, it becomes a pretty powerful tool. So I want to turn this this column, well, in this case it looks like a row, but it's a column in the other way to look at it. I want to turn the area number into a real number or an integer. Now, the difference between a real number and an integer is a real number has a decimal point, and an integer is a whole number always, but I don't think we're going to have that much of a problem here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, it's asking me create a new field. And basically what it's doing is it's going to create a virtual field, something that kind of exists inside of QGIS and does not affect the data set you're actually working on. So since it's going to create a new field, in addition to all these, I'm going to say I want to call this community ID, all one word. And the output field type will be a whole number. That works for me because I know that these are not decimal points. It's strictly an ID number. And I'm going to come over down here, and it has a bunch of different options for me to use. And I'll find conversions. So it has to date time. These things you could be used to actually make sure that you're categorizing or it's looking at something in a column as an actual date, not a string of numbers with dashes in interval, real, string, or time again. So we go to integer, to int. I'm going to double click that, and you'll see that it threw up a little code here in this expression builder. And I don't even have to remember what that field is I'm looking for. I can come down to fields and values. I'm looking down, and let's see here. If I click on community area, no, I want to use area number. Is that correct? So first one, area number, or num. So we'll just double click this, and we can just put a closed parentheses. Well, we know that we did everything right because we got a green and a green, and say OK. And we'll see that it's created us a new column down here at the bottom called community ID. Apply, and OK. So now if I double click on this and look at, there it is, community ID, saying it's an integer, I think we're awesome. Now we want to do is to do the same thing for this file. So we're going to right click on it, go to open attribute table, and we see that community area is these. It appears to be the same. I'm going to come over again to my open field calculator, click on that, and I'm going to say create a new virtual field. I'm going to type in community ID, and we'll do exactly the same thing we did just a second ago. We're going to come down to conversions, find to int, double click on it. We're going to go down to fields and values, and we'll see that it's community area. We'll double click on that, and then we're going to close that off, say OK. And now, let's see if it's actually already done it already. Okay, we see that we've got a community ID already made for us, and it's going to look just like the original column, but now it's in a much more stable format for us to use when we're merging these two data sets. So I'm going to go back to boundaries, double click on it, go down to joins, we're going to click the plus icon on here, and since there's only one data set here, it's automatically chosen this one. If you have multiple data sets open, you might have to click down and choose it, but since this is the only one we have, we'll just use this. I'm just going to say join field, so we created community ID, right? It says 1, 2, 3. We're going to go down to target field, community, oops, I misspelled it, doesn't matter in this case, because, well, it does not matter. We just named it community ID to make it easier for us to remember what it needs to match up with. So we'll click on that. Notice that if you don't want to merge everything, you can come through here and select which ones you want to merge. I'm going to make it easy on myself, and I'm going to choose per capita income and diabetes, because that seems like something that actually always correlates to income levels. So if we find, see, diabetes, there it is. Click on that, say OK. Apply. Now if we go to fields, we'll come down and we should see that we've got public health statistics selected, this long thing right here. And uh-oh, we've got strings again. That's okay, we can fix that. So we're going to go back up to our field calculator, click on that. And we are what? We're going to look at, we've got diabetes and income. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new output field called diabetes. I'm going to say that the output field type is going to be a real number this time, because if I remember correctly, we're looking not at whole numbers, but we're looking at percentages or numbers that have a, say, 5.4 or a 10.9. You see where I'm going with that. So diabetes, real number. We're going to go to conversions again. Instead of int, we're going to go to real. Double click on it. We're going to go down to fields and values, and we're going to find our diabetes related column there. Double click on that. Close parentheses, don't forget that, and say OK. Oh, and we've got a new diabetes column right here. We're going to do it one more time, and we're going to type in income. And again, go down to a real number. We're going to go down to conversions, that's right. Go down to real, double click on that. Again, guys, you can look over here and you'll actually see how this is being used. If you ever forget what's going on, and you have a bunch of different options over here just for your future reference. Now I'm going to go down to fields and values, like fields and streams, but here we go. Go down to per capita income, right? Income, per capita income, double click, close parentheses, say OK. And now we've got diabetes and income. It seems like a lot of work, but once you do this, you can actually save this shapefile with these new data conventions so that things work properly in the future, and save it as your new shapefile so that you can use over and over and over. In fact, this is pretty much how the shapefiles are created by the city when you download them. Sometimes you just have to, you're more interested in what you want to see, and that's what we're doing today. So apply, press OK. Super. Now, we've got a blue map. We want to look at some values, right? So if we double click on this, boundaries, we go to style, we can go to graduated, Okay. Graduated is a ramp of intensity of values. So categorized would be the names of the varying communities. Graduated is going to be an intensive value expressing something, a feature of the community. So we're going to click on graduated. We're going to go to columns, and since we've done all since we've done our homework and our prep work, it's kind of like making a dish. You got to cut your onions first. Now we've got diabetes. You'll notice, well, we only imported these two columns. But if we had imported the entire data set, we would only still see these two because the rest of them are being thought of as strings, whereas it's seeing these as now integers or real numbers. So I'm going to click on diabetes, and I'm going to, diabetes gives me the blues, so we'll come down here and say classify. Perfect. So everything came across. If we say apply, we'll see down here that we now have our community areas based on the values of diabetes in the community. I believe it's the number of these are a number of people per 1,000. I believe that's the case. It might be 100. No, it's 100,000. I believe is what it is. But you can check the data portal to make sure of that. If you when I classify this, I have this choice of saying classes. How many classes do I want? If I say 10, you'll see that it's building up my gradient ramp even further. And then you can if you're so willing, you can go in here and actually double click and express the lower value and upper value for each one of these categories. Let's keep things simple for today and just keep it at 5. This is the, you see that it's rounded up the legend, keeping things simple. You also see that you can kind of go through here and change the way you want to visualize things. You can also say new color ramp. You have a few new options here. Let's see what this is. You'll see that there's plenty of ways to do this, but I'm going to keep it with blue. Another thing that you might look at is the mode. These are different statistical ways of breaking apart the way that it divides up these 5 sections. So if I go to quantile, it says so let's go back. Let's make sure that we've got our, we don't want new color ramp, we want to go back to blue. That's what happened. So we go to there, quantile equal count. It's made an adjustment to make these 5 sections perfectly equal between the highest range, lowest range, and the highest range. Natural breaks. Something else, standard deviation. This gets into statistics, which I do not understand. I believe it looks at the data set and the disparity between the highs and the lows. But we'll just keep it at quantile equal count. We'll hit apply, see things change. No, that doesn't seem right. So we actually have one way to actually kind of look at this data as well that's different. And if we go to equal count, classify, histogram. Okay, not that interesting. Histogram. Not that interesting. Okay, perfect. So we've got 5 colors. Okay. You'll see that you've got this nice data set. We can collapse that column. Now we've got that the income. So we're going to right click here. We're going to duplicate it. And you'll see that both of these are exactly the same. But now I'm going to go in here, double click on it. And I'm going to change the category that I am defining this table. So I'm going to go to my income. I'm going to change the color. Income, maybe we'll go orange to red. Red being high. I'm just going to go to full count. I'll check my histogram. Press load values. Oh, that's what I was doing wrong. So with the equal interval, this is the distribution of income in the city. So you have this even much larger amount of the lower income. This is your 25,000 to like 35,000, 40,000. There's a lack of data here, and we'll see all the way at the far end. This is the 80 to 90,000 per community. Again, these aren't like this is the average for the community area. You can say show mean value. This is the mean. Show the standard deviation. If I go back to my standard deviation, classify histogram, load values. Okay, we'll see that it has changed somewhat. And this is basically how it is visualizing the map down here. So this is another interesting thing to look at. Again, we're trying to communicate information here. Now, this way of looking at it is really exposing the extreme of the wealth differentiation, but it's not. But it's so extreme that it's kind of washing out all the disparity between these communities. So if we go to, say, let's take a look at natural breaks. We'll go to the histogram. See apply. So that's showing us a little bit more. And then if we go back to, let's see, equal interval, classify that, apply it. So I'm starting to think that let's try and match pretty breaks. I'll give it 6 classes. Let's not do that. So let's just stick with the standard deviation, apply. Let me try one more. Quantile, apply. All right, so I'm starting to think that red is not a good indication of wealth, and white being safe, because red is kind of danger, white is safe. So what you can do is you can come up here and press invert. You'll see that it's flipped these, classify it, apply it, and now we'll start seeing the danger areas. Let's try this again. Let me try one more time. Apply. All right, so I like the natural breaks. You can look up the Jenks, natural breaks, Jenks statistical thing. I'm not a statistician, so, but I do like the fact that it's still isolating this one area that is the most wealthy. Let's apply, that's okay. So we got natural breaks, Jenks, and if I turn on other map, let's double click on here. You can also come down here and layer blending mode. You can go to lighten, say apply. So this is basically looking at this layer overlaid the underlayer. Let's not change that. So we'll see. What's interesting here is with the 2 layers applied on top of each other, we're actually able to see the cumulative effect of 2 different data sets as they affect each other. So for instance, this area right here is not as bad as the income disparity would dictate otherwise with diabetes. So you can play with that. It's called a Bivariate Coral map. You see that sometimes in election type maps, but it's a way to visualize 2 different data sets at once. Okay, super. So we'll just leave on our income map, and we will now throw in a few other things. Waterways. Things are purple, so we might go in here and double click on it. See if we try apply water. Okay, that gives us a nice water color. Press OK. You could also turn on the labels. Show labels with this layer. See that it has thrown in a bunch of layers, but the river, that's too many for me. It's kind of noisy. I'm going to say no labels. Apply. That's okay. Okay, great. Now, what else might be interesting? I'm going to turn this back on. Interesting about health. So I might say Chicago Department of Health, Public Health Clinic locations. If I look at the, I'll pull this in. I'm going to right click it. I'm going to look at the attribute table. Okay, so I've got my site name, all these things. If I swing over, I'm going to see that there's a latitude and a longitude. Now, there's a special way to bring this in so I can make a pointal location of these health clinics. If I try to bring it in, it's going to give me this kind of, no, you can't do it because it's just data right now. We've got to tell QGIS how we want to bring in this information. So what we want to do is we want to go to Layer, Add Layer, go down to Add Delimited Text Layer. A delimited text is a text file, and a CSV is a text file. Delimited meaning that it is organized in a particular fashion, in this case a comma. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to say Browse. Actually is going back to my file, not here. So I'm just going to go down here and find clinic locations. Say, you see here's the different types of files that it's text, CSV, DAT, WKT. I'm going to say Open. File format, it is a comma separated value, CSV. The X field is going to be my longitude, and the Y field is going to be my latitude. I'm going to say OK. Now it's going to ask me which coordinate reference system that we want it to be. Well, let's just go with WGS 84 because that's kind of the standard for this. So we'll just say OK, and bam. We just have now plotted all of our clinic locations. If we double click on that and we go to Style, we can either change it as a simple marker, or we could also use some other type of symbol. So we might use a square, perhaps. Press Apply. Just a quick note, if we want to change the color of the symbol, you can actually do it like that. So we'll just make them yellow. See how that looks. That's not great. Guys, I don't want to don't let me start designing on you here. Apply. Now, all right, yellow works, whatever. Yellow. Okay. Apply. You'll also see that there's a bunch of other different ways to style this. Okay, great. Oh, real quick, we can also throw in the labels if we want. Say show labels, turn on the clinic site name, perhaps. See if that works. Apply. Okay, great. So we'll see that these are all now named. Let's say okay, and I zoom in. You'll see that it's gotten smaller again. So this is important to think about when you're printing large. Whatever you just say this is going to be as far as font size, it's going to get larger or smaller, but it's going to stay the same when you print it out. So that's important to remember. Okay, great. I'm actually going to turn this off because it's a little noisy for me. So I'm going to say no labels, and that's fine. Great. Fine. Okay. All right, so I've got my health clinics, and somebody in my other class thought, okay, well maybe parks has something to do with health. Well, we've got parks, so we can grab the parks, pull it in, see what happens. Okay, great. I don't like turquoise parks. We're gonna maybe make them green. That's a little too limey for me, so I'm gonna, yeah, apply. That's okay. And here are all the parks of Chicago. So that just about covers this. One thing we might do if we, I'm going to go to a data set that I had downloaded earlier, but if we say major roads, you can also get this from the data portal. But if I go to major roads, major streets is what it is. I'll pull that in real quick. I'm going to double click on my major streets and turn that to black. Hit apply. Maybe a little grayer. Okay, apply. Maybe I'll turn down the transparency. A little bit better. Okay. So now I get some kind of reference points for my map. Now again, I can always turn this stuff off, that stuff off, however you want. It's whatever you want to visualize. It's up to you. I encourage you to be creative. Now that I look at this, the colors that I have for this map do not really say to me this is a problem of diabetes and income in the city. It's actually pretty ugly, in my opinion, now that I look at it. That's why it takes a designer to make these things look right. So let's get to one last thing that I want to show you guys about exporting these files, okay? When we want to export this, right now it's just basically, it's thinking of this as being 40 or 50 miles big. We need to put it into a format that allows us to see, allows us to print this out in some format. So if we go to project and we go to new print composer, it's going to ask you to make a name for it. I'm going to say Chicago Health Map. I'll say okay. It's going to open up this new window, and you'll see that it has a bunch of different print sizes. I'm going to say that I want it to be, this looks good, so maybe 17 by 22. Zoom out. I'm going to say it's a portrait because it's too wide. Well, we'll just keep it this way for now. You can always go in here and say you want a custom size, but that's up to you. So there's no map yet, right? So if we come over here to the left, we are going to add a new map. Click on this, come over here to the corner, pull it down, and it has now plopped the map. Now if you move it right now, it's just going to move this frame. To move your map content, this icon right here, we can click on that and move it up and center it. We also will come over here and look at the size, and we'll see that it's 300 dpi. You will also want to, okay, that's zoomed in a little too tight. Item properties, if you go to the item properties, you get a scale. So if I pull back, so that's kind of my range. So if I say I want it to be 11,000, that's too much. So add a 0. So maybe 10,000. Wait, 100,000. Let's try once more. Maybe 110,000. Okay, that looks good. Again, it's going to be different. Oh, need a little bit larger, so I'm going to go to 12. Again, this is a tool that's made for mapping the planet, so it's going to always ask for these little details of how you want to do things. Don't get frustrated, it's just the way it is. Okay, so we go back to composition. We can come down here. So if we say, we come down to, let's see, add new legend. Okay, so I'm too smart by half. So it's not going to give me a heat map. I might have to make a custom one on this. So what I'm going to do, just for the sake of this tutorial, I'm just going to turn off one of these layers. Actually, two things. I'm going to change this layer's name, go to general, call it average income, and I'm going to change this one to diabetes by community. Okay. Now if I go back to my print composer, Chicago Health Map pulls it back up. We'll refresh this real quick. I'm going to delete that, make a new one. Okay, so it's pulling up both. Now that I've got this selected, I can come over here, go to item properties, and I can change what's in the legend item. So I can change, I don't want the water, oops, real quick, do it again. All right, I want to change the waterways. See if we, yeah, I don't want everything in here. So Okay, auto update is what's messing me up. So if you turn off auto update, you can go in here and turn off the waterways. Say maybe that. So it's going to cut that out. You come up here and title it. Say Chicago income. Let's enter. See that it's fixed over here. Alignment, you can make it center if you want. You can also come down here to the fonts. Title font, we'll make it bold. Change it to something cool like Calibri. Super, so let's change that. So you guys get the point. We can go in here and double click on this and call it Health Clinics. Say OK. All right, it's starting to look like something. And then if you go down further, you can change the fonts there as well. The color, the font color. You can change the backing of this window. We might, for instance, we might change columns count, the spacing. If we come down to, I believe symbol is that, so if we make it a little bit wider, position and size, we'll see that the width is the width of that window. But you guys can play with this as much as you want. If we go to the frame, we can turn that on. Go to frame, background, make the background black. Okay, that looks better. Font color, we want the font color to be what, white? Super. If we go to the position, we go to the spacing. We go down to background, frame. Where is our border? Anyways, you guys get the point. And of course, you can always bring this, say, into Illustrator and do it however you want. So to finish things up, we can export as a PDF. We can export it as an SVG. This is for Illustrator. So you could actually just export, say, the roads as an SVG. But let's just export as a PDF. We'll call it Tutorial Thursday Map. Save. And if we go to, see, wait, wrong one. Nodes class. So Tutorial Thursday Map, double click on that. Okay, super. So now we've got a super nice map that we can size and scale as big as we want to show whatever we want with data. And I challenge you to make one better than I just did. So good luck. Let me know if you have any questions, and have a great weekend. Bye.